I simulated the 1998, 1999 and 2000 season of Formula 1 and F1 2020 career mode and packed it all into this video. We see surprise winners, a remarking of history and an odd start to the careers of Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso. All this is made possible by the F1 Ultimate Career Mod, a mod in which you can race starting in 1998, Unity Year 2007 and F1 2020 driver career and Mighty mode. In this simulation, in order to have the smallest possible impact on the driver market, I always go into the worst car that was currently driving around on the grid. I simulated the season with 60 race seasons and 5 lap races with one shot qualifying. Because of the modding limitations of the game, I can't have lap time simulated and have to actively drive myself into the back of the grid while the AI drivers against each other. Otherwise, the times of the 2020 cars would be simulated. Also, we only ever use a few updates, so we are always moving into the area where the car performance really was this year. The mod also partially adapts itself to the real car performance in that year, which helped us a lot. If you like the video, leave a like, and if you want to play the mod, subscribe to my Patreon to get access to the mod. You can also subscribe to the channel, because every time I finish a season for the mod, I will upload another video for every other season until we reach the end of the 2007 Formula 1 season. With that all settled, let's jump into season 1. For the first season, I got a drive for the Tyrrell team. The first 4 races were won by the McLaren boys Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard with 2 wins for each. This dominance was only broken to in the 5th race in Monaco with a victory from Michael Schumacher. In the next race, however, Mika Häkkinen was able to win again before Michael Schumacher was able to win in Austria. Häkkinen won also the last race before the summer break. In all of these 4 races, David Coulthard was able to finish 2nd. In the summer break, Häkkinen now led 26 points ahead of his teammate Coulthard and by 43 ahead of Michael Schumacher. In 1998, Jacques Villeneuve was the region world champion for Williams. Unfortunately, Williams didn't implement the rule changes well and they just trailed behind Ferrari and McLaren in 1998. As a result, Villeneuve was offered a drive with the new top team McLaren as well as with the newly founded team BAR for 1999. In 1999, BAR had a significantly worse starting position, but offered Villeneuve much more money. In real life, Villeneuve chose BAR, and in the years that followed, his career, which had only just begun as the youngest F1 world champion, was thrown upside down. After his world championship year in 1997, he never won a race again. But in this simulation, the decision should go in the other direction. Mid-season, Villeneuve has an offer for McLaren on the table like in real life, but this time he takes the offer and David Coulthard out of the seat mid-season. This driver transfer is bringing so much movement to the market that even during the summer break, entire teams no longer look the same as before. Arrows didn't think twice and grabbed the free Coulthard. Since he was quite expensive, they also fired their second driver to replace him with a cheap boy. The second driver for the Arrows is just the 17-year-old Fernando Alonso, who with his debut in Hungary should set the record for the youngest driver in F1 history. Williams, on the other hand, filled Villeneuve's free seat with the talented Jean Alesi, which freed up another spot at Sauber. Sauber then brought in my teammate Jos Verstappen, which should free up a place at Tyrrell. This was followed with Minardi's Marco Gene. Coming full circle, Mika Salo, who was fired at Arrows, has now secured the last available seat at Minardi. Pedro de la Rosa, who had previously driven for Arrows, did not get a seat for the rest of the season. And with a completely new field, we are now going to Hungary for the second half of the season. Jacques Villeneuve was already able to assert himself in qualifying and put the McLaren on pole position. In the end, however, Mika Häkkinen won the race. Mika Salo was surprisingly able to give his new team a point on his debut for Minardi. But only 1 race later in Belgium, Villeneuve was able to get his first win for his new team. At the same time, Marc Gini decided to end his career at the end of the season. In Italy, Michael Schumacher was once again able to defend Ferrari's honor and at least win at the Temple of Speed before there was a colorful podium at Hockenheim with another race win for Villeneuve. Also in Japan, no one could catch up with Villeneuve. However, Schumacher consistently scored points behind the Canadian and was able to close the gap to Häkkinen by up to 23 points. This brings us to the last 2 races of the 1998 season. Eddie Irvine was able to celebrate his primary victory in Formula 1 in the US before both World Championships were decided in Brazil. With a double win, McLaren Mercedes was able to secure the Constructors title, and with the second place, Häkkinen won the 1998 World Championship. But after all his teammate Villeneuve's victory in the second half of the season, it should be clear to everyone that it was going to be a difficult title defense in 1999 for Häkkinen. There was also a few shifts for the new season. Williams is parting ways with both active drivers Frentzen and Alesi and instead release on the service of Coulthard and Mika Salo. The free spot at Evos is grabbed by a rookie named Kimi Räikkönen, who is only 19 at this time. Evos should have the youngest lineup in Formula 1 history, with 17-year-old Fernando Alonso and 19-year-old Kimi Räikkönen. In 2015, this will be beaten by Toro Rosso with Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, who together will only be a few weeks younger. The seat at Minardi from Mika Salo goes to me, because my previous team Tyrrell become the new team BRR. BRR takes the drivers Frentzen and Pedro Della Rosa at the start of their Formula 1 history. There were no other transfers at the change of the season. With that, we can start straight into season 2. In the first race, Villeneuve secured pole, but it was won by Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. The second race went to McLaren again with Jacques Villeneuve at the wheel. In the third race, Mika Häkkinen was able to win another race after more than half a year before the young Canadian Villeneuve wins again in Spain. In Monaco, Villeneuve continued to cement his title ambitions, while Damon Hill became this year's first podium contender not driving a McLaren or Ferrari. Häkkinen was able to win his second race of the season in Canada and thus briefly overtake Michael Schumacher in the World Championship, while Eddie Irvine didn't get going at all this season and is even behind Fisichella in the championship. In Austria, however, Häkkinen's championship ambition were dealt a heavy blow again. He dropped out due to a crash at the start and Michael Schumacher was able to win. Again, Irvine showed he must be trembling for his Ferrari seat as he finished behind Hill and Fisichella. Nakano was able to fulfill a wish of the Minardi team and bring 2 points to Italy. Häkkinen also missed it out again in Great Britain, where Villeneuve won. Villeneuve is now 33 points ahead of Schumacher and 72 over Häkkinen. Now we are going into the summer break of the 1999 season. Because of BIR's poor performance, I decided to join them. After Nakano's strong points finish, he was offered a seat at Benetton. Fisichella was now free at Benetton, and Arrows then selected Fernando Alonso to put Fisichella in the car for the remainder of the season. Williams also decided to get Salo out after 6 months and put backup driver Alesi back in the car after all. Frentzen also went to Minardi and Salo in the last free Minardi seat. The second half of the season started at the old one had ended. Villeneuve won before it was Häkkinen's turn again in Belgium. He was able to get the third podium of the season in Belgium. In Italy, Ferrari won again after a long time, and it wasn't Michael Schumacher, it was actually Eddie Irvine. With this result, Eddie Irvine was in the top 4 of the Drivers' Championship for the first time this season. In Hockenheim, Mika Häkkinen won and Ralf Schumacher was able to secure his first Formula 1 podium. In Japan too, it was Häkkinen who was able to win the race here, and here too, Hill and Jordan were on the podium again. Now that Villeneuve was over 50 points clear of Michael Schumacher and Häkkinen, a win in the US could seal the championship. And he did. Villeneuve, who dominated most of the season, was able to win the race. After 1997-1999, Villeneuve was able to win his second World Championship title. McLaren also clinched the Constructor title in this race. In Mexico, for the first time in the entire simulation, we had a car other than McLaren and Ferrari on pole. Damon Hill secured pole position ahead of Häkkinen and Villeneuve. However, the race win went to Häkkinen and Hill was only able to finish second. The last race then won by Villeneuve again. Hill was able to finish on the podium again, having achieved the podium in 6 of 16 races. Despite this, Irvine narrowly defeated him in the championship standings. At the end of the race, John Alesi then announced his retirement from Formula 1, which once again gave impulse to the driver market. This brings us to the 2000 Formula 1 season. In the 2000 season, Williams decided on an all-new lineup. Kimi Räikkönen replaced Alesi, who's left Formula 1. Next to him, the team, which was now called BMW Williams, with BMW entry into the sport, placed the British Johnny Herbert. The second new team on the grid is called Jaguar. Ford broke Team Stewart in 1999 and formed it into the Jaguar Walks team. The Green Cats singer Giancarlo Fisichella and Jan Magnussen for their first season. Top talent Rubens Barrichello was now free on the driver market and was singed by Benetton. Sauber committed the young Austrian Alexander Wurz for the free seat that Herbert left behind. Arrows decided to replace Kimi Räikkönen, where singed for Williams with David Coulthard again. BAR singed Ricardo Rosset and Pedro Della Rosa. I went back to McLaren and replaced Frentzen, who went to Arrows. The 2000 season started at the old one ended. World champion Villeneuve was able to secure victory ahead of Michael Schumacher. The new team Jaguar was able to score the first points with Fisichella's 7th place. The first real surprise came into the race in Bahrain. Benetton presented a strong upgrade package and actually made it to pole position with Barrichello. Benetton then even managed to win the race and finished on the podium with the other driver. It was Barrichello's first Formula 1 win, Nakano's first Formula 1 podium, Benetton's first win in 3 years, and the first race in the simulation not won by Ferrari or McLaren. In China, Benetton was able to confirm their pace, and in the rainy qualifying, Barrichello was able to secure pole with more than 1 second ahead of Villeneuve, but then he lost the race to Michael Schumacher. We also had a rainy qualifying session in Spain and Barrichello actually managed 3 poles in a row. Nakano finished second. It looks like this Benetton will perform particularly well in the red. Here Benetton was able to repeat their Bahrain result, Barrichello got a second win and Nakano was third again. Barrichello even led the World Championship with a tie with Villeneuve at this point. Could Benetton really compete for the championship in 2000? In Monaco, however, the Benetton had to admit defeat again by Ferrari. Michael Schumacher won ahead of Eddie Irvine. Villeneuve just placed it outside of the points after a grid penalty. Barrichello was able to break away from Villeneuve and now leads the championship by 3 points ahead of Schumacher. Nakano was even ahead of Häkkinen at this point in the championship, who was stuck in a real slump in form. In Canada, for the first time in a long time, there was no Benetton on the podium. Irvine won ahead of Schumacher, which means that Schumacher now leads the championship. In Austria, Benetton then fall back into reality. The teams had made up for Benetton's development lead. Schumacher won ahead of Villeneuve. BMW celebrated the first podium of their partnership with Williams, with Johnny Herbert took 3rd place. Barrichello finished only 7th. At the end of the Austrian Grand Prix, a bomb exploded. Mika Häkkinen, the 1998 world champion, announced his retirement at the end of the season. At that point, he was only 5th in the championship and had only 1 podium finish this season. In Great Britain too, the soon-to-be retired could not make it onto the podium. Michael Schumacher won, extended his lead, and Benetton even seemed to lose the development race against Williams. Nakano didn't even make it to the top 10, while Barrichello went into the summer break with a 6th place finish behind Räikkönen. This summer break had it all again. Williams said goodbye to Räikkönen and brought in Mika Salo, which surprised everyone since Räikkönen was even 1 point ahead of his teammate in the championship at that point. Arrows continued their swapping game, sacking Frentzen and brought in Della Rosa, who was replaced at BAR by the young Fernando Alonso. The 3rd place at Minardi was occupied by Frentzen, and nothing more actually happened in this transfer window. Mika Salo was able to silence his critics, who had criticized Williams for showing off Räikkönen immediately with his first career pole position in Hungary. In the race, however, it was only enough for 3rd place, which was again won by Michael Schumacher. In Belgium, it is now clear that Williams has to be back. Mika Salo drove to pole again and even won his first race here and Williams' first race in 3 years. Mika Häkkinen was only on the podium for the 2nd time this season. Salo was able to finish again on the podium in Italy, but here Ferrari won once again with Irvine. Due to McLaren's declining form, Michael Schumacher has now a 53-point lead in the World Championship ahead of Villeneuve, who is even in danger of being overtaken by Irvine. In Germany, there was a big collision right at the start, which caused many drivers to drop out, which not only gave me the 1st point, but also gave Michael Schumacher the win again. It also helped Verstappen for his first career podium, and Arrows stood on the podium for the 2nd time in their history after Hungary in 1997 with David Coulthard. Alonso impressed with BIR's first Formula 1 points and a 5th place finish. Schumacher now held a 72 lead over Irvine in the championship with just 4 races remaining. A win at the Japanese Grand Prix would be enough for him. But here McLaren was able to fight back after a long time and Villeneuve won the race, who is now second in the championship again. In the next race in the US, Schumacher only needs 5 more points to decide the World Championship. Here, however, another surprise took place. Benetton came back one last time this season and Barrichello managed a surprise win. Schumacher's third place should be enough and Schumacher wins the 2000 Formula 1 World Championship together with Ferrari. In Mexico, Häkkinen finally got his farewell gift. He was able to win his only race of the season here and to say goodbye to Formula 1 with dignity. In the last race of the season, Michael Schumacher was able to crown his season with his 7th win of the season in the final standing. Häkkinen was just able to save himself in front of Barrichello in 4th place. Mika Häkkinen, who spends the first half of the season with Minardi, with his 4 podiums and his race win, even overtook his teammate who had been in the car all season. Arrow said goodbye to Coulthard's regular points finish with a solid midfield car from the 2000 season. De La Rosa still failed to score points in that car. These were the season with the mod that were already done. I will always make a video like this from now on after a new season comes to the mod. So if you want to know how it continued, subscribe to my channel. If you want to play the mod yourself, subscribe to my Patreon as well. We'll see each other in the next video. Goodbye.